Morning. Thought I'd give you a little talk this morning on the CVP process, the documents we are creating, and why this is limiting things like technology implementation and precision and performance in our operations. It will be a 10-minute talk. I hope it will be valuable, and please give feedback and comments in below so I know what you're thinking and how I could improve my message to make it clearer, or what do I misunderstand? Where am I getting things wrong? Because I am thinking about this day and night. We're trying to understand how we can push our industry forward, and I struggle with getting the message out to management in the industry, I think. But they're not very communicative, they are very quiet. So help me get the message out, help get the discussion going by commenting and sharing this video. So, the manual process and the digital process. In the manual process, this is what we do today. And this comes from the CVP process, which was established decades ago. The CVP means capital value process, and it's in all the oil companies. It's the way of working where you divide the workflow into, or field development, into different decision gates and milestones, so that you can control the amount of effort you put into each phase. So you don't have all the company working on all the details in an early phase planning, which makes sense 20 years ago, 10 years ago. But it doesn't make sense anymore because things have changed with all the data processing and data availability we have with SaaS computing today. And the challenge with the traditional way of working is that when you are separating tasks into different stages, you end up repeating a lot of work because the baseline, the essential work which is being done, is being repeated in every stage. You are looking at general well design, you are looking at reservoir entry, you are looking at the most critical components for every stage, which is what you will be working on all the way through to the detailed planning phase in the end. But you will have more people. And what you do when you are working in this way, because with the CVP process also comes all the documents that you have to hand over and sign for each stage. And that's what we're seeing in the manual line. It's the documents that are being made, but while we are working on the documents, we are creating much more data. We are making models in software, we're making spreadsheets, we're making dialogue, we're talking to each other, we're evolving, we are making lots of data. But the CVP process and the general management process of having documents that we sign means that only the essential data is being stored in document. And the document storage is what is being referenced to as the most important data. Whereas all the details are lost because they're not in the standard structure format. It's very easy to store a document or a spreadsheet. You just save it to some file storage and then you can go back and find it. It's much more complex with a specialist application. And typically specialist applications are so hard to understand because they are specialist applications from earlier ages, that you need the expert as well to get data or value information out of them. So you end up, if you go back and look at your previous projects, what do you find? You will find the documents. The documents is also what is being transferred from one phase to the next. The rest goes to the bin. And that is terrible, that's waste. Same on us industry, we're wasting so much of our information, what we get, value, what we generate. Take some coffee on that. Cheers. So, new people come in the next stage. What you looked at in the previous stage might be in this report, but the details are not. And then when we get to operations, that's where it all goes bananas. That's when everybody gets involved. Because in the CVP process, you want to make sure you don't put all the people in the early phase. You want to have all the people available when things are really important, and that's in operations. But we all know that you can impact the value of the plan much more or the value of the operations much more by impacting it in planning. We all know the curves on how you can make change for less cost early on in the scoping phase than by trying to fix something when the rig is drilling or doing operations. But more and more people and more documents are coming in. And if you want to implement something advanced, say you want to standardize on MPD or you want to have mud sensor monitoring, you need to influence all the decision makers, all the document holders throughout this process. And you know them. They are maybe 10 people you need to influence. And 2 of them know what you're talking about. If you're lucky. Or maybe they're all knowledgeable, but they know the risk and the challenge of implementing something more advanced. So you always end up copy-pasting the last well, because that feels comfortable for the organization, it feels comfortable for your manager who's going to sign this, it feels comfortable for you as the manager, but it really hinders implementation of advanced technology. And I mean, if you look at the operational step here, the rig is a machine needs instructions. There are no instructions going digitally from the operator today. Everything is going through CVP stamped documents. And if you're a robot, I am a robot. The only thing you can do with a piece of paper is to pick it up, put it in the right place. You can't read it. I remember this one video from the 90s and 80s. And I tried this joke before, but I should remember the name of the video, the film. But I don't. There's a kid and a robot, and they're trying to get away from some criminals or something. I don't remember. And then the robot says, let me read the instruction manual so I can drive. And then the kid starts flicking through the pages, and the robot says, faster, faster. And then they just through the pages, and then the robot learns how to drive a car. That's not related to what I'm talking about. This is the manual process is. Remember the name of that movie? Type it in the comments below. I've been thinking, but I've been Googling it. I couldn't find it. I think it came out late 80s, early 90s. Anyway, sort of what we're doing in each decision gate, we are shredding the previous plan because we couldn't get access to all of the details. That's somewhere else. You need somebody to provide you that personally. So you only have the document that I handed over to you. Then you make new plans, and we're good at that. There's so many brilliant people. There's so many good engineers, managers, creative people who can find solutions to everything. We love this. We're so good at this. You can see the office is boiling when we're in the planning phase. We make a lot of decisions. We're good at that. Not so good at documenting, but making decisions we are, especially if it's similar to what we've done before. Then we write decision documents. That's where we put on our dinosaur suits and go back. We shouldn't be doing this. We write lots of decision documents. And this is what people spend most of their time, because they know that if there's something wrong with the formatting, if the fonts are wrong, if the colors are wrong, you're not getting your point through, because there's so many people in this decision process who care about these kind of things. They pick on irrelevant details. They want to make sure that the spreadsheet is the correct formatting, because yeah, I don't know, I don't quite understand why, but it's not productive. It's counterproductive, because people are wary of promoting smart things because they worry about being able to present it in the correct way, and then they get it in return, and then they're like, oh, let me just do something else, something safe. And then after we that's the last part about the documents, is that we only share information after we have settled everything. We have made all the decisions, and then we start sharing. And I think that's the point where I've been the least interested in feedback, is when I have made up my mind and I'm already going. And then I share my plan and people say, hey, I think we can do some slight improvements here, some slight improvements there. Talk to the hand, double hand, because the decision is made. And that's not a good process. If I ask you for advice, a month earlier when I'm thinking I'm super happy for getting input. But then the document isn't signed yet, so I can't share all that information. Should not be working like this. And then we get approval, and you know who approves this. If you don't know who approves your document, then you are playing a risk game that nobody wants to play. Because then you don't know why you didn't get an approval or why somebody else got assigned to do this project. It's all about who approves documents, and those people have a lot of power. And that's what the middle management enjoys with the CVP process, is that they get to sign the documents. If they have questions, if there are things they don't agree to, they can just cancel weeks and weeks of work and say, no, we're not doing that. You need to rewrite it, or I'm not signing this. And then all of a sudden it's down to one person. You need to make sure that that one person is happy with what you're doing. And that's not the modern way of working. And the trouble is, all this single user software, where we do things once and never update, where we do the details, that's a black box. That's waste. You need to be, if you updated it, if you made that model, you need to explain that model to somebody else for someone to understand it. If it's so that's waste. And then we have the get approval and please stakeholders. And we're creating lacking details and only have one plan in the document. And that's also waste, because all the other details that you thought of, they're gone. Boom, 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 boom. In the digital domain, you share data instead of documents. You forward the data to the right place. And you have all these people contributing all the time. There's never a cutoff. There's no design freeze or other things we introduce. There's no detailed planning phase. Well, there should be a detailed planning phase where you order equipment and when you reduce your opportunities or limitations. But you should be planning for all outcomes, so you don't need all these people later on in the execution phase. You should be planning in enough detail to say that, yes, we had covered all the outcomes of the operations with our plan. And the plan should be a data stream that can be fed to the machinery, to the equipment, and people doing the operations. You can't add more information to the documents. There's no point in trying to add new sensors and more data or more documents to the manual operations, because they're overloaded. What we need is to have a data stream where you generate all the data for multiple scenarios and you feed that data to whoever needs it. Stakeholders in the planning phase, partners, risk management, HSE, logistics, economists, everyone who needs the plan will get it. And they will get the uncertainties because you have 5 different scenarios, you have 3 different designs. Equipment manufacturers, providers, they get all the designs and then they can interact with you through data and not spreadsheets and PowerPoints. And what happens then is that the people here, instead of being gatekeepers and document controllers, they become proactive feeders of information, which is what they love. This is what they in operations, people are everywhere and they're super excited because they get to share all their knowledge. And that's what you get to do all the way through in a digital workflow. And the other part is the data coming back from the rig. Today, that is overloading the system. There's nobody's really capable of using. There are very few people who are really capable of using the real-time data, except for exactly when the rig is drilling or doing operations. After operations, that data is too complex. It takes an expert a week to try to figure out if we can see that hook load changing or that bit thing, or it's too much work. It's too complex for us. Our organization is set up to handle the reports we wrote ourselves and analyze other people's reports and not use large data sets for analysis. And that's what the digital workflow gives us the opportunity to do. Use real data, use so much more data, share and collaborate with your users, with your peers. Make sure that everybody knows, everybody chips in with their knowledge. And then you keep the stakeholders up to speed. You work on reducing risk and improving performance. and you don't spend time on writing reports. Think about that. Don't spend time on writing reports. Getting to a yes, should we use this technology? It's not about writing it into the drilling program. It's not about writing into the report and making sure that all those 10 people nod. It's about optimizing the design. If you see that the time depth curve improves, if you see that the risk matrix improves, if you see that the equipment actually fits because it works in your model, then that's how you make decisions, and that's so much more efficient. Yeah, I think that's it. We're hiring data people, salespeople. If you want to join our team, and where I started, getting this message across is important. We need to have this discussion in our industry. We're talking about CCS. We're going to drill wells to inject CO2. That requires higher precision than drilling producing wells, because there's no margin in that. Anyway, thanks for watching, and please comment below, let me know what you think. How can we improve? How do we get the discussion going? See you.